Actually, we mentioned it last night. Somebody asked about smoking weed and
Yes.
working, and I thought it would be a cool conversation because I know give me your thoughts, or give me your history, or talk about it in whatever way you want. I have a bunch of thoughts too.
Yeah, raised kind of relatively kind of straight edge, you know, like the classic WASP, you know, American family, and like, so things like drugs were looked down upon, but not necessarily because my parents themselves never did drugs or that they never had sex before marriage or all those things, but they just thought that now is a good time to become against those things after I've done them all.
Yeah.
But like, so, you know, classic parent, no shade. But it just kind of, you know, when I started smoking weed at the end of college, it just, I don't know, it just like, I would sit down at the guitar and it would just be like screaming all this like angst and there was all these angles and just the music. And I remember being at like 2009 Coachella and listening to Grizzly Bear and being like, oh, heaven. Yes. and just things like that. And then for me, you know, 10 years down the road of kind of wake and bake and go with weed. I always say it uninvited me to the party. So and if anybody knows what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like if weed all of a sudden stops being fun, it's really not fun. Like it's deeply upsetting to be high and not want to be high. Like you're like, why am I thinking about like that weird conversation I had with that friend of mine on our senior year cruise to fucking Mexico? Like, what is this? Like, why am I here? Like, why am I time traveling to all my guilt? You know, and like, and just so. Anyways, I don't anymore. But I think that it was a very beautiful thing for me. And I think everybody, you know, I think it's really interesting how like not that many people smoke as much, like people don't smoke as much weed anymore because like legal. I think that's an also interesting element to all this. I think people just like doing illegal shit, but I did recently though. I do have a good story about weed. I was at a friend's house, and I'm a big sucker for like fizzy drinks that taste like grapefruit, and so I grabbed like one out of the fridge and it was super good. And I was like, oh, this is so great. And there was one next to it. And I had liked that one before so much that I didn't look at the next one, which I should have really thought about it because it had this weird opening. Like it just was like a little bit harder to get into. It had like an extra layer. You had to like pull like a tab and it felt like there was like a safety thing to it. Like,
yeah, it's child safety on it.
Didn't care because I just wanted that grapefruit fix. Yeah. Chugged it as fast as I can chug anything. Next thing I know, I was like sitting in an In-N-Out line, and instead of ordering one burger, I ordered two out of the blue. And then I was like, and the really funny thing and then I like started driving. I was like, oh, I feel really like sick. And I looked at the can. It was like 20 milligrams of THC that I just domed, hadn't smoked in forever. So it's pretty intense. But I realized very quickly that if you don't know you're getting like drunk or stoned, it actually just feels like the flu. Like it's like actually your body just panicking. Like if you know it's coming, you kind of put it in this awesome sphere. Yeah. If you don't know it's coming, I just thought I was like getting really sick.
It's poisoning your body. I mean, yeah.
It was completely unfun. Yeah. It was like I was like on the phone with my wife. I was like, I think I'm getting the flu. Like, and I love that is like the closest thing your brain has to this thing that everybody does recreationally for fun is that you're getting the flu. But anyway, that was my unintended getting stoned recently. But I definitely encourage people to find themselves through drugs, and I think that you can make great music high, and I think that but don't glorify it. You know, it's also cool to be sober. So
I've found it interesting. I think about it a lot. I mean, I smoked weed quite a bit, sort of late teens, and then in my 20s I basically didn't at all, just because I wasn't around people, and then got back into it in my 30s. I find that it can be very useful and interesting and exciting if you are doing a thing and you're exploring and you're sort of expanding your brain and living deep inside sounds and songs and parts and things like that, it definitely fucks up my ability to be the adult in the room. So if there's any kind of session where I really need to be on my shit and be a producer and like deal with personalities, like I really don't do it at all. I rarely do it for a writing session where I need to actually be thinking about rhymes and, you know, organizing a song and going deep with somebody and being attentive and aware. It fucks up my ability to do that. I also think that we're in this weird time in the culture with sort of like the Joe Rogans of the world, people that are glorifying marijuana use, but it's coming from people that are so like hyper achieving, need to do shit all the time, that having some weed kind of calms them and makes them sweet. I don't think that's the effect it has on a lot of people. I think the effect it has on a lot of people is demotivating, and getting stuck kind of doing whatever you're doing. There's somebody that said a great thing that doesn't apply to everybody, but it was kind of a nice way to think about it, which is that cannabis use makes you go deeper into whatever you're doing. And if what you're doing is playing instruments, living inside a beat, making sounds, you'll just go deeper and get excited and discover new things. If this is me tweaking knobs, but if you are watching YouTube or eating snacks, you'll stay on that couch and eat snacks for hours and hours and hours and get nothing done with your life. So it's a tool, it's a controlled poison. And I've had sort of varying relationships with it over the years. Those are some thoughts about it. Some people ask questions about that.
I definitely, you know, I don't have anything big. I just, you know, it's just, you know, it is what it is. It literally is what it is. That's it's like, that's the best way to, it's just, you're going to be stoned and that's, you know, for a lot of my life, I love that. And now I also love being sober, but you know, I'm also older and I don't know. I don't know.
It seems like you got what you wanted to get out of it, and then you didn't need that thing anymore, and it didn't benefit you, and you were able to go, cool, this is not good for me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would have kept smoking if it was enjoyable. It really did. It really kicked me out of it just really became unfun. So
yeah. Makes sense.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. There's no Patreon. We don't read ads. We don't have sponsors. We're just trying to build a knowledge base. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks so much.